What's good, gifted? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Steph Wood, and let's get right into it, okay? Today's episode is going to be so dope. I have the best guest on today, Ahmad Hawkins. He's a dope guy. But before we get into that, let's get into our 60-second soapbox. I don't know what in the world is going on with Kyrie. First, he's taken 5 days off for personal reasons. Now he's got himself caught at a party. Somebody's blowing birthday candles out. Now he's getting fined $50,000 and he stands to lose almost $900,000 in revenue. My guy, are you okay? Like, do we need to talk? Like, do we need to set like a What's Good Gifted episode just so we can iron out whatever it is that you're feeling? Because, bro, we need to get you back on the court. And we're going to be talking about you in this episode because on Saturday, you're going to be playing with the big three. James Harden is coming your way. So we need to tighten up, Kyrie. All right, you need to get back in the game. You need to get back on the court and continue your 27 points per game run. My guy, are you okay? Do we need to call a friend? Do we need to reach out and see what we can do? Because you've been absent, brother, and we need you back. So that's my 30 to 60-second soapbox, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Kyrie in this episode. But before we do, I want to take a minute to introduce my new friend and my special guest for today's episode here on What's Good Gifted. The dude's name is Ahmad Hawkins. He is a sports analyst, but before that, he is a native of Hampton, Virginia. He spent 4 years a starter at UVA football, doing the darn thing in Charlottesville. Now he has his own show, The Ball Hawk, and he also does what's really cool, the walkthrough, highlighting UVA football players and their program. I'm super excited to have him on the show. I can't wait to see what he has to say about all the topics on today's show. We're going to cover Urban Meyer. We're going to talk a little bit more about Kyrie and all the issues that he has going on. And of course, we're definitely going to talk about the most recent Alabama national championship and what in the world is going on with college sports. So you guys help me welcome this dope guy, this gifted dude, Ahmad Hawkins. Welcome to the show. What's good, Ahmad?
What's good, Steph Wood? I'm happy to be here. I'm glad you reached out.
Happy.
Yeah, so I'm ready. And the topics are fire. You get to talk about one of my favorite people, Kyrie. So, you know, I get to play devil's advocate, not devil's advocate. I get to be big brother to him, and
you're gonna protect him on this. Okay.
No, I can't protect this. He made it hard for me to try to protect him with this subject.
One. Well, thank you so much again for coming to the show. Welcome to the What's Good Gifted audience. Let's jump right in, okay? Let's talk about Urban Meyer. ESPN reported today that he has taken the head coaching job with Jacksonville. What are your immediate thoughts with that?
My immediate thoughts are this usually isn't a good thing for college coaches to transition to the NFL unless your name is Jim Harbaugh. And he inherited a situation in which the team had a lot of talent and they were just a couple players short. But Urban Meyer, I mean, he's been successful everywhere he's been. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think Urban going to Jacksonville may shake up the draft.
Is that right? In what way do you think?
Yeah.
Because my initial thought is that he's definitely going to go for the number one quarterback in the country out of Georgia in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, do you feel like that's going to happen, or do you feel like he's going to go in a completely different direction?
Yeah, I feel he is. I mean, you know, Trevor is another great quarterback out of Clemson following Deshaun Watson. So, you know, kudos to him. But he recruited Justin Fields. And I could see him possibly going to save Dwayne Haskins, too.
Well, he does have the number one pick. Have the number one pick. And he has a huge amount of money to spend, does he not? Something like $76 million.
$6 million.
Right? Some people are reporting that it's going to be closer to $100 million.
Yeah.
What can a new coach do with that kind of money?
The first thing he need to do is go get, like, a veteran staff and make sure he has a great relationship with his GM. And really go out and scout. I will say this about Urban. Since he's been connected with college football, his knowledge of players that are eligible for the draft should be ahead of a lot of these teams because he's been hands-on in a sense with his work with college football. And just being in the loop as far as talking to other college coaches and things of that nature, recruiting these guys. So he knows them firsthand versus trying to scout them, watch them run the 40, and then look at film. So he has that upper hand in that standpoint. So I think he can put together some talent, but it's all about, can that talent transition to Sundays and win when you're coaching against veteran professional coaches, and
Right.
understanding that in the pro game, you aren't the face. They aren't there to see you. In college, they were there to see Urban Meyer. In the pros, whoever your quarterback is, they're there to see him. So that's how the pro game works.
Well, you made a really good point. He is going to have to solidify his staff,
Mm-hmm.
and the GM, and different things like that to make sure he's successful and to make sure the team is successful. Who do you see him putting in those staff positions? Do you think he sort of will reach back into his collegiate days? Do you think he'll reach across the aisle and look for other pro coaches to kind of fill the gaps where he may not be able to kind of bring his own experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. Do you go with familiarity? And majority of his familiarity is from the college ranks. If we can tap into another sport, and we're going to talk about the team anyway, with the Brooklyn Nets, you saw Steve Nash. He pulled in a lot of guys that he knew, and then he, had former teammates as well. Urban doesn't really have that luxury because he's transitioned to the pro game. So, do you? And I don't know the relationship he's had with pro coaches, but are any of his former staff that transitioned to the pro game, are they available? Will they become part of his staff? Will a veteran or a young position coach at a different team transition to coach for Urban? So, like you said, so much money out there. We just don't know. And it's Jacksonville, Florida, and the taxes are different. So it's just like a player. The coaches can look at that and like, hey, I can make more money going to coach under Urban. And I think they probably feel like they'd be more empowered since he is new to the pro game as far as being the head coach. He'd probably be more receptive to information being communicated by them as well.
Right. Some analysts are talking about Urban as if he's some kind of, and I don't want to say spoiled, but he has this reputation of taking losses and then like jetting,
Running.
like,
Yeah.
and I get it, ESPN reports that, it's a lot harder to come back from a 1 or 2 game loss
Mm-hmm.
in an NCAA run for a national championship. But here in the NFL, it's quite different. Any given Sunday, anyone can come up, and one loss won't necessarily mean that you're not going to get to the Super Bowl. So that said, what do you think Urban's kind of mindset is now that he's going to take this NFL job? Do you think he's kind of put some of that anxiety behind him? And then also, do you think he's really prepared health-wise to take on this stressful role, having his past just infiltrated with a bunch of health issues?
Yeah, the health issue question really put things in perspective as far as the expectations for Urban Meyer. I honestly think that it's almost like a money grab in a sense. Like you getting like it's hard to turn down. Like I have a feeling that they enticed him to come out, and then they threw the money at him. We call it they threw the bag at him, and he couldn't turn down the bag.
He had
And
to
I think,
bag.
yeah, and I think with that being said, I could see him going to get a veteran staff, so it won't be as stressful for him. I could see him getting a veteran defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, and just allowing guys to just carry out what he wants the culture to be, because I think that's less stressful for him and it's safer for him. And I know his wife and his kids are definitely worried about his health. So with communicating that, it put things in perspective and saying, okay, Urban might go get a lot of OGs in the game and just say, hey, this is what I want. Carry those tasks out, because I'm not trying to get too stressed out. I got this bag I can sleep with. So
That's a great point. That's a great point. And you spent some time in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. That experience, what kind of challenges do you think as a coach brand new to the NFL right out the gate? What kind of challenges do you think he's going to experience being brand new to the league?
You are dealing with grown men that are entitled. You are dealing with individual players that make more money than you. So again, you aren't the cash cow anymore. At Ohio State, you were the face. You had the cachet to just put out your national championship rings and say, do what I say so you could get one of these. You're not Pat Riley in Miami when you're recruiting free agents throwing out championship rings. You Urban Meyer, you throw out them national championship rings from college. Them pro guys gonna look at you and be like, let me show you my bank account. I ain't need one of those to get this. So if you're an entitled individual from college, you got a roster full of entitled individuals. Not saying they spoiled brats, but they understand their worth. You got 52 walking businessmen. Like, bro, I'm a grown man. You got to talk to me a little different. So that's the main thing, the communication point of just understanding how to reach your players and understanding that they're grown, they have family, and you're going to be naive to a lot of things that you have to be willing to learn from. And then those players have to learn you as well. So it's going to be a two-way street. But I think he's capable of bringing in that winning culture because that's been in his DNA to win. But what's going to happen if you start out slow? He's going to have to dig deep and really show us he's a champion on all fronts, because in college, you always had the best talent and you were a front runner. You would jump out, you would win. And even with Alex Smith at Utah, he won. But what happens in Jacksonville if you start out 0-5, 0-6? Because they've shown us in recent past that we'll fire you after 1 year. NFL coaches don't just have to last. It's like being a draft pick. If you're not a first rounder, you can be cut in your first year.
Right. Absolutely. And you're right. Jacksonville is a great city. There are many upsides to coaching in Jacksonville, but there's also a downside. They haven't been winning.
They haven't been winning.
So what in the world is it kind of like they're waiting for him to come in and do magic? Is this really a good opportunity for him as much as it seems? Or do you feel like he's kind of setting himself up for something different to come out of this situation?
Yeah, I think Urban has the built-in, I don't want to say excuse, but the built-in response of saying, well, if it didn't work, it doesn't tarnish his legacy. It's almost like when Gruden came out of the booth and took the Raiders job, it's not going to tarnish his legacy. And with the Raiders job, he had a lot of talent awaiting him. And then Mike Meyer was a guy who was always at the scouting combine. So when he stepped in as a GM, he knew how to pick players to, transition to the team. Where Urban, he has a blank canvas. He has talent on offense. He has some talent on defense. It's just all about how can you fill in those spots, because you lose games in the season because of one or two plays, or you might be missing one or two type of players. And what type of scheme are you going to run as well? Are you going to run the scheme you ran in college, or are you going to adapt to the pro game? So it's a lot of little nuances that he has to familiarize himself with quick, because as much as I'll be patient with him because I understand the game, his fans aren't going to be patient with him. They want him to bring that magic that he has, brought every place he's been. So it just depends on who is grading him. If we're grading him, we're being real. It was like, okay, he might not win coming out the gate. But Jacksonville fans are like, no, you're going to win, because that's what you do. You win.
That's right.
It's going to be fun to watch.
He does win. He has a winning record everywhere he's been: Ohio State, Florida State. He is the man. And I'm in the Zoom with the man, Ahmad Hawkins. This is What's Good Gifted. Let's transition, Ahmad, okay? You were a 4-year starter at UVA. What is it like now being there and doing this walkthrough program? And how does it feel kind of being back on campus with the team? And how long have you been doing it? And what kind of stuff can we expect coming out of not only the walkthrough, but also your show, The Ball Hawk?
Yeah, so being back on campus solidifies that I'm older, so because a lot of these kids wasn't even, born or to understand football for the most part when I was playing. So it reminds me every day when I go talk to them, like, man, I'm older. I don't want to say old, but I'm just older. But it's a beautiful thing just to get back and pour into these young men. Because a part of me wanted to coach, but I didn't want to inherit the lifestyle of not knowing every year or 2 years if we're going to remain in the same city or state, going to be with the same team. So being a part of professional ranks since from 2001 to 2012, myself, my wife, and my kids and my wife didn't deserve the uncertainty of where we're going to live, and we have to uproot and go to these different places anymore. So this job gives me the best of both worlds. I could essentially coach up guys and train them, and then I get to cover them and talk sports. So what more can you ask for? And that's just how the universe works. And with the walkthrough that got offered to me just off me recapping UVA football games and always doing pregame shows and being a part of the program and reaching out to the coaches on my own and just building relationships. It was like, look, we got this idea. We want to, really showcase our players because they have on helmets. Unlike basketball players, they don't see football players' faces. And we need somebody to bring that personality out of them. And every time you're in the locker room and we see you out and about with players, they rave about how you're just easy to talk to and their guard is let down. So would you be interested in doing this show? And this was 3 years ago. And man, I jumped at it. So you have to be very creative because a lot of people got ADD. You got to keep their eyes peeled. It's like a TikTok video, 30 to 90 seconds. And now we can do it up to 3 minutes because people really enjoy it. So just asking them fun questions. It's similar to Jay Billis, 92 feet that he does.
Right.
So shout out to Jay Billis. We just brung it over to football, and he's not a guy that's going to hate. He's going to appreciate it. So that's what we did, and it's been a hit. So
well,
enjoy it.
Ahmad, you definitely got the juice, and we're going to find out what's in your juice a little bit later. But let's transition to why we got you on this show to begin with. Okay. I happened to be scrolling through Facebook, and I saw it wasn't really a rant, but it was definitely a passionate discussion about Parity following the Alabama smacking of Ohio State in the national championship with a score of 52-24. I mean, dude, do they gotta win? Do they really gotta win all the time? What's your point of view on parity in college sports? And tell the people where you stand.
But yeah, you happen to scroll and saw the appearance of my alter ego I call Petty Hawk, who's very passionate and unapologetic and doesn't listen. He just provides his truth and he moves on. So for years, a lot of folks have been coming at me about the parody angle. Like, sports are better with parody because you just don't know who's going to win. And I love that. And I'm just like, you must not be either a fan of a winner or your team is just trash. Pretty much it's the same thing. So, and I just joke with them because I'm so competitive. I don't want parody. I want to see somebody like you should, like the competitor in me is like, no, I want somebody to dominate because that's what you strive to do. Because we ask for athletes to be great, dominate. I mean, that's what we do. We compare LeBron to Mike. How many rings in the one? Basically, who dominated more, and whose dominance was more impressive. When you talk about the legacies of college coaches, you don't talk about Nick Saban of how dominant he's been since they started this college football playoffs and how many national championships he's won. So, on the grand scheme of things, it's like, oh, I'm tired of Alabama winning. But this is what we truly want because you gotta step your game up. Like he's doing something. Now, granted, it's like a little shot at Nick. Granted, his guys are older. He get them to stay somehow. I don't know why those guys don't leave early, but they stay and they stick around because they're addicted to the rings. I mean, if I know I could sit back for another year and win another national championship, that's enticing.
Absolutely.
And I love to see one team dominate. I mean, if you look at, I will say, the NFL.
If you're cheering for that team, it's like, yeah, I want to dominate. I want to win. Just like when you were saying when the Bulls had this dynasty,
the last dance. I mean, we celebrated it, right?
Of course, that's what we do. We do.
Yeah. We celebrate the so Laker fans and Celtics fans.
Yeah.
I know you're not crying about parity because y'all got the most championships in the NBA history. Like, so I know none of their fans screaming parity, but I can see like a 76er fan. I can see anybody with just sprinkles of rings. But anybody that was the Spurs, no, they dominated era. So anytime you look at the history of basketball, like that decade, it's been like 2 or 3 teams that's always been in the finals, So it's like you respect the culture in which they created. We respect Joe Montana and the 49ers and Steve Young and the 49ers. We respect what the Dallas Cowboys did, what the old Green Bay Packer team did, Sixburg and Pittsburgh. Like we give them their flowers. And if it was parity was involved, we wouldn't be able to give out flowers.
Absolutely not. And let's be honest, you can be as competitive as you want to be. You can be the most competitive athlete out there, but if you cannot perform, you cannot win. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between, and I don't know if it's difference or whether it's just, and maybe it is difference, but you can be competitive and not be any good.
Yeah, you could be.
When
Yeah,
the
you could
lights
definitely
come
be
on, you
competitive.
have to perform. You have to perform under pressure. You have to perform when it's tight. You got to perform. I always told my daughter, she's a Division I pitcher at Towson, and I said, baby girl, you might need to be called in for one inning to pitch to one batter. Okay. Yep. So how will you perform? Talk to me about performance and how that separates just the regular old competitive athlete.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when it comes to performing and it comes to being a dominant player, being a great player versus just being a good player that's serviceable, somebody just there, right? So everybody works hard. I'm using air quotations. Everybody works hard, but you have the great ones who prepare hard. So you see Kobe behind me. Kobe prepared like no other. Michael Jordan prepared like no other. Tim Duncan, LeBron, all the greats, they prepared. They just didn't train. They prepared for moments. So you could just see them working on the same move over and over and over. They go to a different spot in the court over and over and over. In football, you could just, if you're a defensive back, you work on just your initial, they call it your initial step, your first step back. You may do that like 100 times. You're just preparing. And then you may exhaust yourself and run sprints, and then you get back in your position drill. Just like basketball players, they run those suicides, and then they don't call them suicides anymore. That's not politically correct. They run lines, and then they shoot free throws because they're trying to prepare their body. If I'm exhausted, can I still hit this clutch shot? Because usually the clutch moments, you're tired. You're supposed to be tired. But if you prepared your body, you're not tired. You're in that reserve championship tank to where people are like, man, how is he performing? He's supposed to be hurt. He's been playing all these minutes. Everybody's always amazed that LeBron is like, he prepares for that moment. So that's why when they say, oh, it's a big moment, is he going to show up? Well, if he never prepared for this moment, he's not going to show up. His body's going to lock up. It doesn't know how to respond to it. There is no muscle memory involved. And a lot of times you hear players say instinct. Well, instincts come from preparation because mentally it's there. It's like deja vu. It's like, oh, I've seen this before.
Right.
And you
smile. Bottom line, it is really the things that we do in an empty gym, in an empty facility, in an empty arena when nobody's watching that really separate us when it's time to get on the court and make big shots, hit a pitch that's tailing out of the zone to bring a runner home to win the game. All those things are important. Tell me a little bit about the preparation you went through to transition from being in sport as an athlete, as a college football player, 10 years in arena football, a brief stint with the Kansas City Chiefs, as I mentioned earlier. What kind of preparation did you go through by yourself, with people, without people, to get ready for this job, this arena that you're in now?
Yeah, so this job, I didn't respect it enough at the beginning because I just felt like since I was a trash talker when I played, that I could just get on the mic and just start talking trash. And that won't last that long because you got to provide some substance, you got to provide some structure, and and it has to flow. So if you don't do your research, if you don't really study, like I study a lot of film on players, and I try to tap into their mind of what they saw before I go into a recap. At first, I didn't write scripts. Now I write in which I have a solid plan of what points I want to hit on. I wouldn't say I write word for word everything I'm going to say, but I have a basis of where I want to go, and then my mind takes over. I call it my passion takes over because I've reviewed the content so much through that preparation that it starts talking for me. Right. But if I go into something and it's not organic, you're going to tell because I'm not going to be able to fluently discuss what's going on. And that's what I started to learn. You get the the you know what I'm saying? And it's like, who wants to hear me say, you know what I'm saying, for half the show? So I have to dive into it.
Nobody.
Yeah. So as you prepare, it's no different than when you started your intro. It just rolls because you prepared it so much that as soon as you start, it's boom, it goes. And everybody knows that, oh yeah, she practiced that. She prepared for that versus dead silence when you hit that
I'm like, wait,
red dot,
did Coach
Yeah, So the first time I did TV, it was like, and action, go, and the teleprompter's going, and everybody has words coming out the teleprompter, and they get to me, it's like nothing, because I just said I didn't want a teleprompter, but I saw the red light, and I was just like, ooh, what am I going to say? I didn't prepare.
Well, you are smooth with it now. I had the chance to view many of your videos today, both in the walkthrough and then of course the Ball Hawk show. But let's talk a little bit about basketball now, because that's my thing. Okay. I was never that great at it. I had to work much harder in basketball than I did any other sport. But I grew up on the courts. I grew up in the gyms. I grew up on the soccer field, and basketball was like my passion. Okay, so I'm into it. All right.
Okay.
Now, when my dude Steve Nash went to the Nets, I was hyped about that. I was excited. Some people were hating on that.
Yeah. How did you take that? How did you take that?
You know what? I was excited. I'm a Steve Nash fan, though. I've been a Steve Nash
likable guy.
I mean, I've been a Steve Nash fan since forever. I remember when I was on the Nike basketball circuit with Gannon Baker. You might remember him.
Oh yeah, he's from the crib. I know Gannon.
Yeah,
I was the Baker brothers.
I was the only girl on the Nike basketball circuit as a skill development coach. And
really?
I did that for 3.5 years, and it was the best job ever. I loved it. Worked with Coach Burke, worked with Ivory Latta, Elena Deladon, Maya Moore. I mean, Skylar Diggins. I mean, we were doing it big.
Keep dropping them names so they know.
I didn't mean to drop. I'm just being honest. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Right. Let them know. Tell them check your resume, man.
But the point I'm trying to make is that Steve Nash was somebody we studied. Like, if you wanted to learn point guard passing, if you wanted to learn how to be a point guard that could contribute on a lot of different levels and make the most of your skill set, he was a guy that we studied. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan. But here we are now. James Harden has been traded to the Nets. We've got Kevin Durant there, and now here's Kyrie. And my guy, he's been hit with this $50,000 fine. He stands to lose almost $1 million, on top of the fact that he's been out 5 games already for personal reasons. What can we expect from him on Saturday if by chance he happens to stay COVID-free and is able to hit the court with the other two? What can we expect from those guys?
Yes, that's a great question. Because everybody's thinking they can't jail. So this is what I'm always torn with the analysts and fans of NBA. It just depends on the report card they have, right? Like, as far as with the people, like if you're a likable guy, you go there, it's going to work. Like when KD went to Golden State, they didn't like KD, but they said it'll work because KD's unselfish. He never rubbed people the wrong way, except for the Twitter burner. But other than that, on the court, never rub people the wrong way. But everywhere Kyrie goes, they're like, I don't think, even with KD, they was like, it wasn't going, because they don't like Kyrie. Remember when Westbrook remember when CP3 joined James Harden, it was like it wouldn't work. It worked well. They got to the Western Conference Finals, but essentially it worked. I'm not going to say it didn't work because neither one of them won a championship anyway. So they're fine. And then, Russell Westbrook and James Harden is not going to work. Well, Russell numbers actually improved with James, and James' numbers stayed the same. But they lost in the playoffs, but I didn't expect them to win with LeBron there. So now, fast forward, this ain't going to work. And now it's basically because James Harden got his fat suit on. He's going to take that off now. He sabotaged himself to get out of Houston, which I laughed at. And I said from the jump, like, bro, he don't want to be there. And he's going to show you. And once he show you, you're not going to like it.
Brother, it was tragic, though. It was tragic watching him play.
Oh, yeah. He was going to force it.
Is this?
Yeah, he's forcing his hand. Like, I always tell folks, sometimes you just got to listen to people. Like, when they say, I know we don't want to give people what they want all the time and give in, but sometimes when they dig their heels in, I'd rather you not. Like, I'm looking at coach like Silas, like, why are you putting him in there? Look at him. Why are you putting James in there? And why are you making John Wall and Boogie Cousins mad at all? Like, Boogie, you don't want to piss him off.
Right.
Like, he's no good to you. But now with Kyrie, and Kyrie reminds me of Antonio Brown. I'm just like, man, you just need some mental health help. Like, you need to go see somebody.
Talk about that, because Kyrie has these up and down roller coaster moments, it seems like. And even though he has been so gracious during COVID, he's been so gracious to the WNBA.
Yes, that doesn't get talked about.
Tons of money. But people kind of overlook that, and they kind of label him a little bit of a problem child, or because he's emotional, or whatever the case may be. I'm sorry. I just feel like looking at the NBA, looking at sports, college sports, pro sports, whatever of late, whether it's COVID or just the racial tensions. I mean, I don't know what it is, but everything's different. The
Yes.
games are slower. The games aren't as exciting. People aren't as ready. Athletes aren't as prepared. Talk to me a little bit about what Kyrie must be going through, and what would make him blank out like that to go to a party and not wear his mask and now be in a situation where he can't maybe not help his team. Like what's going on in that mind of his?
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't mean to cut you off. I really think, honestly, I don't think anybody ever asked him this, but how did he deal with the death of Kobe? Because Kobe was the one guy who knew how to get through to Kyrie.
Wow.
And if y'all don't think Kyrie's different, just go to YouTube when he challenged Kobe to a one-on-one. How many guys at his age go, I could beat you one-on-one? And it was serious. That's when I was like, yo, he's different. And Kobe was like, I like this guy. Because that was Kobe to Mike. I could beat you. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to be better. Like, so that dynamic when Kobe passed, and granted, he had his issues with, you know, with LeBron. He got when LeBron was going to leave. He beat LeBron to the, you know, punch. Then he started going in, just telling too much. He was being too transparent. Mm-hmm. And then he realized that this is harder than what I thought, being a leader of young players. And he was holding himself accountable. And he did what we all want our players to do, admit fault. So he apologized in front of everybody that he was wrong about LeBron. And people stepped on him for that. So once he got stepped on about apologizing to LeBron, we saw this all season after Kobe died and he didn't want to talk to me. Basically, he gave the media the middle finger to everybody. Like, I ain't telling y'all jack. Because every time I say something.
Put a whole Marshawn Lynch on him. He was like, no.
I'm going to talk to who I have to talk to. And I've been telling people on my Facebook page and Twitter, I just like, look, a lot of times teams aren't going to release everything as far as the communication with the player. They're going to give you just enough. Exactly. Like they know what Kyrie at. So when Kyrie went and celebrated his sister and his dad's birthday, and they didn't confirm if it was recent or old, I do know he did. Somebody told me on my show yesterday that he did, in fact, chill with Drake. So they say that's true. But with Kyrie, he's at a crossroad to where you got to understand he can't please anybody. But he definitely need to talk to somebody, like, because his mental health isn't where it should be, and basketball isn't his getaway anymore because it intensifies when he's on the court. And now that he has polarizing figures of a James Harden and a Kevin Durant and a lot of expectations, it's not going to get any easier. So I think that's why he truly appreciated LeBron when he got to Boston, because he was like, damn, bro, like you really are built different to withstand this since you were 18 years old.
And you know what, Kyrie, let's not forget, he's a great player. 27 points per game. He's making half the shots from the field, almost half the shots from the 3-point line. Come on, like, give the guy a break, let him play.
That allows that, though, you know? That allows the break. Because I always say when your talent outweighs the distraction, you're fine. So as long as he does what you're saying, and one thing I can say about Kyrie at this point, he's young enough to where his talent will shut everybody up. I just don't want him to be the next Dez Bryant of a guy where you make all this noise when you're young, and as soon as you have a chink in the armor, they get rid of you, or they treat you like AI. Once he couldn't give you that blazing speed, they just push you out. Well, they did to Melo for a year or two, pushed him out, and then we knew he showed everybody like I wasn't an issue in Houston or OKC. It was just they wanted to get me out of here. He doesn't want to get on that list. And a guy like Ron Artest, Better World Peace, could tell him, like, bro, chill out, because they will push you to the side quick.
And then, you know what? We always have our favorite, most flamboyant player of all the times in Dennis Rodman. Let us hope that nobody else goes down that path, sitting in a parking lot with a shotgun. But yeah, let's get everybody looking into mental health and talking to people. And I think that most people are really reaching out and trying to seek help throughout this COVID pandemic. And then also everything we're experiencing with the racial tensions and just the consistent racial issues we have in this country. I know it's not about sports, but I gotta ask you, how do you feel about everything that's been going on with the riots of late and the Capitol issues and President Trump and just everything we're facing in the political world. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, my thing is, my pettiness is like it's finally being documented in front of a camera, and nobody can lie and twist it up like it don't happen.
Right.
Capitol Hill, government building, it's prestigious. It's snipers everywhere. If a group like that can rush that, do you really think Black Wall Street being burned down was a lie or facade? Do you really believe it's just conspiracies? They did that in front of everybody. And look at the response. You got cops running from them. When it was a peaceful protest, they were strapped up, ready to just go. So it's revealing a lot. And it's a shame that the marginalized has to continue to witness these type of things. And it took Trump losing and everything Trump said to come to fruition, because he said, if I lose, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And like everything Trump has said, oh yeah, his word is his bond.
Absolutely.
Good people go home. I mean, I'm here in Charlottesville. We saw what happened in Charlottesville. Fine people on both sides. Nah, brother, that ain't the time to say it's fine people on both sides. Right. I can't do it. Like, you can't do it. So with what's going on, and also I think this is, a great question in what you asked, because with politics, people think politics and sports are separated. They've been joined forever. Absolutely. Since the days of, with Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, guys been, changing their names due to Islam and speaking out on the marginalized, and fans show that they have a getaway, but they don't understand that these guys are human beings, and some guys can't perform while what's going on. But just because you make a lot of money don't mean you're inhuman. And just because you're not affected don't mean it doesn't affect you. Because a lot of folks are like, oh, it doesn't affect me, I don't care. Well, that's you. But human beings, a guy like Kyrie, what's so sad about what he's doing as far as his job is that his off the field work, which is outstanding, affecting WNBA, giving money to them, paying for kids, to have scholarships, great humanitarian steps. It's going to get overshadowed because people aren't being entertained. And when you don't entertain somebody, they get pissed.
That is a great point. That brings me right to that whole just dribble and shut up thing that everybody, athletes should do. Yet when you sit in the stands and you're rooting for them and we're buying all their gear and we're spending all this money to hype them up, do you really think that their only power is dribble and shut up? No, quite the opposite. Athletes are the voice. They're the representative of the people. We are the ones out there competing and performing and representing our schools, our countries, our towns, our cities, our families, and beyond that. So time out for all that whole dribble and shut up thing. I think more athletes should go ahead and speak up, much in the way LeBron has, and also CP. I mean, CP3 was clutch during the COVID situation when players were in the bubble, and yeah, he's never won a championship, but man, he's done so much more for the game than just that. And I do wish that people could see Kyrie for more than he is. But on that question, back to the original question, what can we expect from them when they start playing? Like, what's it really going to look like, and how long before James and starts getting his sea legs?
Yeah. That's a great question. And you know what's ironic about James going to Brooklyn that I think a lot of people have been missing the mark? It's like, oh, how are they going to work together? I'm like, but James is essentially going to be playing in the same offense. Dan Antoni and Steve Nash are there. What type of offense is Steve Nash playing? The offense that Dan Antoni ran. What offense does Steve Nash really know that's second nature? The offense that Dan Antoni ran. What does James been running? Bingo.
There you go.
So Kevin Durant is a guy that, Kevin Durant is a catch and shoot guy.
Yep.
So now, I think that it's gonna be more seamless than people think. But the one thing that they were struggling with before they got James was defense, and they got to go get another rim protector. They had to, because DeAndre is not the same DeAndre Jordan. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they're gonna go out and get another big. I know Cleveland has a lot of big men. They need to go holler at Cleveland, see if they can make a trade. If you could go get a guy like Dwight Howard from Philly, I don't know how you can make that happen, but Steve played with him in LA for a year. I'm a Dwight Howard fan, so
I'm
I
sorry.
would love for him to play in in Brooklyn with those guys, just because I just don't think
That
going
wasn't a
forward.
shot at you. I
No,
promise.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I'm
So,
not a Howard fan. I
yeah.
just think that maybe he's had his time, and some of these younger cats coming up
Oh
are
yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, and my main thing was just getting another veteran presence. But are they allowed to allow those young guys to develop? Because we'll be patient. Man, you'll be like, yeah, they got to develop, but no, you got the big three. Like Chuck and them says, either the finals or the bust. It's like, damn, dude, like,
Was it that bad?
yeah, like Shaq, when you was going from Phoenix to Cleveland to the Celtics, like, were all those years a bust for you, or we just said you were old and you got that right?
Wow.
You lucked up, went to Miami, and Dwayne Wade did his thing. And that's no knock on Shaq, but it's just one of the things that winning the ring is tough. Like, so many moving parts, and it's not about the stars all the time. It's those role players playing on the road. Which role player is going to come up on the road? Like me, Virginia guy, Joe Harris. Just let him shoot threes. As long as y'all passing the ball, let him get about 8 to 10 threes, because he shoot close to 50%. I'm good. Get Joey Buckets the ball, and I'm good.
I love it. I am in the Zoom with my new guy, Ahmad Hawkins. This is What's Good Gifted. I'm Steph Wood. All right, listen, I got to ask you this question, okay? And it's kind of going to throw you off because it's got nothing to do with sports, but it's the final question of our great interview. And I thank you so much for spending this 45 minutes with me. But let me ask you this question. The people want to know, what's in your juice?
My juice.
What's
It depends on who's serving it. So in my shut the hell up juice, if Ball Hawk is serving shut the hell up juice, it's just be accountable for what you say or just listen. I was always taught, my old trainer in high school, who was like a mother figure, Diane Limerick, shout out to her. She told me, baby, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's better to listen versus trying to talk all the time. Like, a great leader understands how to truly listen. So that's my way of, when I serve shut the hell up juice, I'm like, you need to listen. Like, you talking too much. Now, Petty Hawk, when he serves shut the hell up juice, he's just saying, you dumb, just shut up, you wrong. Ball Hawk doesn't like to change your mind and tell you you're wrong. Ball Hawk is all about everybody has their opinion. He's respectful. His shut the hell up juice is like, hey, this is what really happened. Fall back, because I don't want you to get hurt. Petty Hawk is, the hell with that. Let them get hurt. They deserve to get hurt. They jumped out there, shut them down, dunk on them, destroy them. So it depends. If you see hashtag Petty Hawk, it's real disrespectful. If you just see Ball Hawk with no hashtag, it's respectful. Hey, just listen.
I got it. And what's in Ahmad's personal juice? Like, what's in your juice that has carried you and helped you be successful? We all have gifts, right?
Yeah.
And we have multiple gifts. Like, we are really just a big gift ourselves, right? And there are things that are layers to us. And just when you think like you've achieved everything that God has something else that he's going to deposit or has already deposited into you to prepare you for that next thing. So what is in Ahmad's juice? Like, what is in your person juice that has gotten you to success at UVA, which is a very tough school to be in, period. Charlottesville, now success, in the sports analyst world. What's in your juice, man? What's in it?
I always say what's in my juice is truth. I operate in my truth, and I'm very transparent. And most of the time that's one and the same. So I call it the 2 T's, transparency and truth. I'm never afraid to be transparent and show my heart and show people how I truly feel. I have no issue asking questions. I have no issue with telling you I don't have the answer to that question, but I'm somebody that's going to share and uplift you as I elevate. So I don't live in that crab in a bucket mentality. Any success that I've gained through the sports entertainment field, I think my followers and my fans have been there since day one. Back in 2012, when I was doing Ball Hawk News Network and everything was hashtag BNN, when I was extension of ESPN, of just providing scores to everybody that was working, that couldn't get to the internet or anything. Well, they get to the internet because they're on Facebook, but it would just ping and they would just see scores, because that's all I did. It was just anytime I was the red zone for folks. And when I got into this field, just asking people like, what do I need to do to get better? What have you done to branch out on your own and do your own podcast? So I'm never afraid to ask questions. And I understand my calling in this world, understand the vision that the Lord has, put in my spirit. And I'm unapologetic about that. I'm not out here chasing to be on the ESPNs and the Fox Sports 1 because I want to own my name. And I'm all about ownership, and coming from Division I football and not having my likeness and not owning my name after signing that national letter of intent. I'm real big on, owning your own LLC. And I tell folks, you get these stimulus packages, you should have your own LLC. You should have your own umbrella in which you could operate in which you could, send folks 1099s versus having a salary, because you understanding your worth. And if you do work a 9 to 5, that's fine. But see if you could branch off and utilize your talents in your own right to where this is me, this is mine. And once you become enlightened and once you find out the truth, you become dangerous to the machine, because the machine doesn't want you to know your true worth and the truth in anything. So you got to go out there and seek your truth, educate and feed your mind daily, and understand that I went to UVA. They call it first year, second year, third year, fourth year. And that's because Tom Jefferson said we never stop learning. So that's why he put years on it. And I took that to heart. And I understand what went on at UVA. I know the history now. Mm-hmm. And just one of the things where you just stay in your truth. And that's all you can do.
Words to live by, words to grow by, words to learn by. Ahmad, it has been my pleasure that you spent this What's Good Gifted episode with your new girl, Steph Wood. Where can people find you, and what can people do with you, and how can you connect with Ahmad?
I appreciate you for just allowing me to be on your platform, and even just, sharing the different platforms that I have. They can just go to ahmadhawkins.com if they want to get a hub of everything that I do. Every podcast episode uploads from Podbean to that website. It's also available on iTunes. It's available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor.fm. Any podcast platform, I try to ping my podcast to that platform. I'm available. I started my YouTube channel again, so they could go on YouTube to see the video version of what I do. I use StreamYard to do my lives on Facebook. And sometimes I do my live just off the phone. That's why I call it like a vlog, where I just got something on my heart. Yeah. In which we met when you saw me talking about Parity. Just something on my heart to just express my thoughts on Parity. Not saying folks were wrong. It was just my way of joking. And I'm a jokester. People want to see I crack jokes a lot. You got to have just laughter in this. But that's it, man. If you want to follow me on social media, at I am Ballhawk on Twitter and Instagram, and Ahmad Hawkins on Facebook. And as Steph could tell you, I'm easily accessible. I'm not a Hollywood guy. Like, I always try to make sure I'm grounded, no matter how much successful I can be, how successful I am. I always want to make myself accessible, because I knew how hard it was when I first started podcasting to just try to drive the vehicle by myself before I started getting guests. And that's the hardest thing. So if I could ever be a guest on someone's show to just help their brand and help more eyes because my fans are visiting, I'm going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it. So I appreciate you reaching out to me, Steph.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to get on. Guys, you can find Ahmad just by Googling. All you got to do is start typing in AHM, and the brother pops right up. So it's really not hard to find him. You can definitely check him out at ahmadhawkins.com. This has been another episode of What's Good Gifted. You can check me out at what'sinyourjuice.com. We have found out that this dude is gifted, and he's also got the juice. We'll see you next time. Take care.